Welcome back, everybody. So, after our box opening on the Dominaria draft booster set, we went ahead and picked out our commander. It's going to be Shanna, Purifying Blade. Her ability is going to be lifelink at the beginning of my end step. I can pay X, where X I can draw X cards. X can't be greater than an amount of life that I've gained. We're going to use her just as a utility commander, not necessarily much of a commander that goes out and does everything for us. So, only reason for that is there wasn't many picks and options on here, but I did pick out some cards that would make sense for this deck to at least build tokens and kind of hit people as we go about the match. So, that being said, let's move towards our utility cards and our mana base system. So, being a white, green, and blue deck, we're going with a Temple of Mystery, a Temple of Enlightenment, Temple of Plenty, a Command Tower, Temple of the False God, Soul Ring, Sky Diamond, a Moss Diamond, a Marvel Diamond, and an Arcane Signet as our 10 cards that we've selected to help with our mana. We are also adding in a Relic of Legends. We can tap this to add 1 mana of any color, and I can also tap an untapped legendary creature I control and add 1 mana of any color as well. That's its own ability. We're also going to be adding Hero's Heirloom. Equipped creature gets a +2/+1 as long as its equipped creature is a legendary. It has trample and haste. We'll use that for a commander to kind of help us out to kind of get draw spells going without necessarily getting draw spells. There wasn't much that we pulled out of our box for it. Then we have an inscribed tablet, 1 mana cost, 1 mana to sacrifice it and reveal the top 5 cards of our library, put a land card from among them into my hand and the rest into the bottom. And if I didn't put a card into my hand this way, just draw a card. Simple, cheap draw spell that we can use. Now moving on to our creatures that we have selected, we did pull a Silverback Elder. We did end up putting a lot of creature spells into our deck and a couple of instants and sorceries to help out. So what it does is whenever I cast a creature spell, choose one, destroy target artifact or an enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of my library, put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped, put the rest into the bottom of my library in a random order, or gain 4 life. And I could do this each time I cast a creature spell. Next spell we picked out was Sten, Paranoid Partisan, as our next legendary creature. As this enters the battlefield, I get to choose a card type other than creature or land. Spells that of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. It'll help us out. So obviously we can't pick creatures. We'll be picking enchantments, sorceries, or instants. In this case, we'll be picking sorceries to help out. We can also pay 3 and exile this card and return it to the battlefield under our control at the beginning of our next end step. So if we have to kind of phase it out and bring it back, it's an expensive way of doing it, but it's a way of nonetheless. We got a Haughty Djinn, flying. Its power is equal to the number of instants of sorcery cards in our graveyard. We did stack up our deck with it. It's a utility creature that we're going to be adding for it. 3 mana cost to have it where all our instants of sorcery spells cost 1 less. Well, 1 colorless less, which will help out. Next up, we added a Defiler of Dreams. 5 mana cost for a 4/3 flying. I can also use this to cast blue permanent spells. When I cast blue permanent spells, I get to draw a card. On top of that, we added a Defiler of Vigor. Whenever we cast a green permanent spell, we get to put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control. This will be a benefit for us whenever we start building up an army of 1/1 soldier tokens, bird tokens, and we have a little board wipe state that can help us out getting a couple of 2/2 Phyrexian tokens. Next up, we have Defiler of Fate. When we cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. We added a Llanowar Loom Speaker that we were able to pull. Tap it to add any color mana, or tap it to target a land that I control to make it into a 3/3 element creature with haste until end of turn. It's still a land, so we can still tap it if we need to. We added a Guardian of New Benelia as an enlist. It's a great little ability where it could pick another creature that doesn't have summoning sickness to beef up this creature while we're attacking. And when it does, Enlist, I get to scry 2. So look at the top cards, pick and choose what we need for the next team, next moment. Discard a card, and we get to gain indestructible on this creature. So not only do we get to go ahead and stomp some face with it, we can also protect it if we need to. Then we added a Danitha, Benelli's Hope. Not really the best kind of creature card that we could have picked. We didn't really get many enchantments or equipments out of this, or auras to be more exact. But it has first strike, vigilance, lifelink. It'll help out with our commander's ability when the time comes. And when it enters the battlefield, if there's an aura or equipment card in our graveyard or in our hand, we can cast it. We can put it onto the battlefield without paying for it, and it enters and it just attaches over. Now for our next set of creatures, we added a Queen Elena of Radak. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, its power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures we control. So, again, we're going to be having token creatures as they come in. Every time we create a token, we can plus that to one soldier as well. So we create that and then a soldier on top of it. So she'll get bigger and bigger and bigger as she goes. Next up, we added a Tura can read Sky Knight. Flying, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Once again, we're going to be doing a lot of casting of sorceries and instants on top of creature spells. So we're going to be kind of a mixed breed, building up an army and just swinging out to people with what we have. Next up, we have Azara Ojane, Scion of Ephrav. Whenever it becomes tapped, put a 1/1 counter on each creature I control with toughness less than the number of basic land types I have among that I control. We're only going to have 3 different land types on our deck, so all of our 1/1s would just move up as they go. Eventually, they're going to be capped out, but it's going to help build our army as we go about it. Next up, we have a Nail Aviso Aeronaut as domain as well. It's a flying creature, and when it deals combat damage to a player, I get to look at the top X cards of my library, where X is the number of basic land types among cards I control. Put up to 1 of them on top of my library and the rest in the bottom in a random order. Then if there are 5 basic land types among lands I control, draw a card. We're not going to get to that part, but having it being an ability to kind of scry as we go will help out. Then we have a Yova, Steward of Tides. Land creatures that I control have flying. Its ability is where whenever a land enters the battlefield I control, I can turn, as long as I have 7 or more lands, I get to put one of them as a land creature or elemental creature as a 3/3. It's still a land. Next, we have a Wrath Wither Light Stalwart. Whenever I cast an instant sorcery spell, I may tap 2 untapped creatures that I control. If I do, I get to draw a card. We're going to have plenty of tokens. We're going to be able to do that every once in a while when we need it. I can also pay 5, and creatures I control get a +1/+1 and vigilance until end of turn. We'll probably only use that when we have too much mana. We don't want to waste it, so we can dump it into that. Next, on top of our creatures to help out as we're going, we went ahead and picked creatures with Defender, whether they're walls or not. Shield Wall Sentinel as Defender, and when it enters the battlefield, I can search my library for a creature card with Defender, reveal it, put it in my hand, and shuffle. What I'm going to be using that for is going to be for this creature in particular. It's called Wingmantle Chaplain as Defender, and every time when this comes into the field, I get a 1/1 bird token, but every time a creature with Defender enters the field, I get to create another 1/1 white bird token. So these two would combo with one another to help out that way. On top of that, we also have a Academy Wall. Whenever I cast an instant sorcery spell, I draw a card. If I do draw a card, discard a card. This ability triggers only once. At least we get to draw a card. We can get rid of a land if we are burdened by that, or flooded, as some would say. Then we have a I'm going to call it a Vine Wall as Defender. When this enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of my library. I reveal a land card from among them, put it on top, put it in my hand, and put the rest in the bottom of my library in any order. Again, if we need to get mana going, we have that ability. This is just a regular wall that we could use. It doesn't really do much for us, so it's just a defender. Help out, get a 1/1 bird token down the line. And we have a coral colony. It comes into play, it's a 1/4, but I could pay 2 and I could target a player and have a mill X cards, where X is the number of creatures I control with defender. At most cases, I may have about 6 creatures with defender on the field, but it'll help out whenever we come to it if we have to just kind of mill somebody out to get rid of them. Next up, we have added a Resolute Reinforcements. It's a 2-drop for flash. If we need something to block, we'll have it, and we also get to create a 1/1 white soldier. It comes into play. Knight of Dawn Light, another 2 cost, first strike, and if I would gain life, I get to gain that life plus 1 additional to it. I can also pay 2 and give this creature a +1/+1. It's a 2/2. It'll help out. Then we added a Nishoba, however you want to pronounce it. It's a brawler. It's a cat warrior 2-drop for a, in this case would be a 3/3, because it comes in with domain. It's the power equal to the number of basic lands that we control, or land types that we control among cards. So it'll help out, and also has trample. We can beef them up when it needs to. Then we have Elvish Hydromancer, 3-drop for a 3/2. It has a kicker of 4, and when we have this enter the battlefield, if we kicked it, we get to create a token that's a copy of a target creature I control. We'll be using it for some creatures that we're going to need it for to redo its value once it comes into it. Next up, we have a Llanowar Stalker. Every time we create another creature, or a creature enters the battlefield under our control, it doesn't matter whether it's a token or not, it gets a +1/+0. Whole point of it is just to beef it up and just swing with it. Snare Spinner, 2-drop, has reach. Only reason that I picked it is that it has reach, and if it blocks a flying creature, it gets +2/+0, so it'll make it a 1/3 to a 3/3. And then we have a Semet Herbalist, 2-drop for a 2/1. When it becomes tapped, I gain 1 life and then scry. It'll help out, again, kind of fix up what we need to do in our deck. A 4-drop Griffin with flying, 2/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, this creature gets a 1/1 until end of turn. So every time a creature comes in, it'll help out, making it stronger and bigger so we can swing out at somebody. Then we added a Volsci Tide Turner, 2-drop, 1/3. Just tap it. I can spin a island or a blue spell, a blue mana, to cast out a instant sorcery spell or kick a spell, and I can only use it for that. If we need kind of extra mana as we go about it, we have that ability for it. Next up, we did add some instant spells. For this case, we added some spells that involve counter spells and kill spells. This one is Protect the Negotiators, 2-drop. I can kick it for a white, so making it a 3-drop, in which I get to create a 1/1 white soldier token. I can also counter a target spell unless the player pays the 1. It'll be useful whenever we get to the point where people are just tapping out as much as can. It's great at the beginning. And we have Urtai's Scorn, 3-drop. This spell costs 1 less if an opponent casts 2 or more spells this turn. Counter target spell will benefit for us. We don't have to worry about picking which one we have to, and most people will cast out 2 spells. If it's the beginning, it'll be an expensive counter spell, but later down in the match, it'll help out. We managed to pull a Negate, 2-drop, for a counter target non-creature spell. We also got a Essence Scatter, 2-drop, counter target creature spell. Impede Momentum, 2-drop, tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. Stun counters, what they do is every time it would be the next creature's untap step, it won't untap. You just remove a counter. Eventually, someone would probably want to kill it or just be tired of having to have the creature that does nothing. I also get the scry one. Whole point of it is to slow down someone's major creature. It could be someone that has a Voltron deck. Be great to stop them as long as they don't have Hexproof or Shroud or Shadow as well. Then we have Runic Shot, 1 mana cost. I can kick it for a blue, and as I do that, I get to destroy tap target creature. If this spell was kicked, I get to scry 2. Destroy Evil, 2-drop. I get to pick 1, destroy a creature that has toughness 4 or greater, or destroy an enchantment. Never know if someone has a propaganda or smothering tide or a Ristic study, might need to get rid of it, or if there's just a creature that's swinging out that may kill me, best way to get rid of it with that. Then we have a bite down. We will have creatures that are going to be big, so these creatures, we could use them to kind of get rid of other people's creatures or planeswalkers I don't control. Broken Wings, I don't have enough cards that have flying or reach in this deck, so Broken Wings will help out getting rid of some flying creatures, enchantments, or artifacts for a 3 cost. It's not too bad. Aid spells that I would say we have. So we have search our library for up to, well, threats undetected, 3 costs. Search our library for up to 4 creature cards with different powers, reveal them, an opponent chooses 2, and then I get to put them into my hand and then shuffle. Well, they choose 2. Those go into the deck, and then I get to put the other 2 into my hand. Scout the Wilderness, 3 costs, has a kicker of 2. I can search my library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. If this spell was kicked, I get to create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. We're going to kick it. We're going to try to get as much creatures that we can and more utility out of each one. And also getting an extra land will help out with the game. Then we have Slimefoot Survey. As domain, it's a 5 cost. So I search my library for up to 2 land cards that each have a basic land type. So I don't have to look for a basic land. I just look for a basic land type. That or I misread that, and we'll figure that out in the future. To misread some of these cards. Put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Look at the top X cards of our library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands that we control. Put one of them on top of our library, and then the rest at the bottom of our library in a random order. Joint Exploration. 2-drop kicker is 1 for a forest. Scry 2, then draw a card if this spell was kicked. I get the. Excuse me. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. We have Impulse, 2-drop. Look at the top 4 cards of our library. Put one of them into our hand, and the rest in the bottom of our library in any order. Help us out. Kind of get rid of some cards that we don't need. Then we have some token spells. My bad, guys. I'm tired. I created 3 1/1 white soldier creature token. 4 mana cost. Won't be too bad for it. Strength of the Coalition. Pay 1. Kick it for 3. And target creature I control gets a +2/+2 until end of turn. And if this spell was kicked, put a 1/1 counter on each creature I control. Benefit for us is when we need to swing out or protect our board and get rid of some people's creatures if they're swinging at us. Hopefully not too many flyers. Then we have a Shore Up. 1 mana cost. Target creature I control gets a +1/+1. Gains hexproof and until end of turn, and then I get to untap it. We'll probably use this for a commander or a creature that we're going to need on the board to help us out. Excuse me, sorry. Take up the shield, 2-drop, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains lifelink, indestructible until end of turn. Again, we'll probably use this on a commander or maybe someone big like Silverback, Gorilla. You never know what we're going to need it for. We're just going to make sure we're ready for what we need to have. I'm going to go with Gia's Might. 1 mana drop. It has domain. Creatures I control. Target creature gets a +1/+1 until end of turn based off of each of our basic land types. We're going to only have 3, so it gets a +3/+3 for a 1 cost. Is not too bad. We did add ourselves a couple of enchantments and sagas. The phasing of Sephir. I think that's how you pronounce it, Sephir. I can go ahead and target 2 of my creatures for the first 2 sagas, or first 2 chapters of the saga, phase them out. Well, let me rephrase that. Another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't be phased in for as long as this saga remains on the field. Until it goes through, we can protect at least 2 of our creatures. Most cases, it depends how we need to go about it. I'm going to use it for more of a board wipe. It's 4 cost, destroy all creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 black Phyrexian creature. If we have to get rid of a nasty board, someone has Hydras and they're all non-hexproof and they're like 5/5s, 10/10s, whatever they are, I'd rather have 10 2/2s versus 10 10/10s. You never know. When the time comes we'll need it, we'll use it. Then we have the Love Song of the Night and Day. You and a target opponent each draw 2 cards. Again, these sagas have read ahead, so I can pick and choose. So if someone wants to kind of work with me, I can help them out. They can help me out as long as we come in agreement. Maybe they don't attack me for this turn, and I'll go ahead and let them draw 2 cards. Then we'll create a white bird token, and then on the third one, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures I control. The Wither Seed Treaty. Search our library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. And then target creature I control gets a +X/+X. Gains trample until end of turn, where X is the basic land types I control. That'll be +3/+3. And we have a aura. Again, we didn't get too many of these, so that one particular creature that gains off of attachments or equipment and auras. Not really much we're going to do with it. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to the player, draw a card. As long as enchanted creature is a legendary, it gets a +1/+1 and has ward. Be great for our commander, really, to give it ward on top of what it has for its abilities. Land, it's pretty simple, easy to go about it. We pulled a Yevamai's Coast. We're going to add that. We added an idyllic beachfront, a radiant grove, tangled islet, and then we have our forest, islands, and plains. So this is kind of our deck that we were able to pull out from the box and build out of it. I'm still considering going ahead and build a second deck out of the box that we pulled, and this time it will probably be it's going to be a red and black deck, since we'll have cards for that. We'll see what we do. Hopefully we have a good game. Most of our decks, sadly, every time we play them, they tend to get a mana screwed, as they would say. So we don't always end up having a good game with it. But we'll see what this one does. Hopefully it's not that case. Stay tuned. We'll watch another video with us playing our commander out of the Make It Break It and Win a Game deck challenge. Hopefully we can finally win a deck. If win a game with a deck. But thank you guys for watching. Y'all take care and have a good day.